USA has come in a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. Now, the United States of America already has such deals with other countries as well. However, the deal with Saudi Arabia has raised some eyebrows and some concerns. Now, remember that this deal is not as such for nuclearization or for nuclear weapons, but rather for the nuclear energy to be used for civilian uses. But still, it has raised certain eyebrows and concerns for the countries around the world. So we will see what is this deal all about, why it has raised certain concerns, and who is raising those concerns. So can those concerns be addressed or not, and what impact will it have going forward? All this and much more is what we will see in this video. So let's get started with the news. So the news is about the United States of America and Saudi Arabia, who have concluded a long discussed nuclear cooperation agreement. Long discussed means, of course, it is on the card since a long time, and now they have concluded the same. Now, this announcement basically is coming during the US-Iran conflict. And the conflict which is happening, see, USA is the only nuclear power which has actually used the nuclear weapon or the atomic weapon in any time, forever. Right, so the only country which has used this is United States of America, who used it during the Second World War. Now, USA wants that no other country should nuclearize. So if Iran is also going to nuclearize, they say that it should not. Now, that is a very hypocritic thing to say. Of course, we do not want nuclear proliferation, but in that case, USA and other countries should also move ahead for denuclearization, rather than you yourself nuclearizing, creating a monopoly of nuclearization and not letting the other country to nuclearize. So what should be the best way forward? The entire world should denuclearize. That should be the right step for the peace. Anyway, that is not happening anytime soon. So here, the US has come in a nuclear agreement, but this nuclear agreement has nothing to do with nuclear weapons. This is a civilian nuclear agreement wherein nuclear power will be used to generate energy over here. Right, so the announcement is coming during US-Iran conflict, which is already going on. So at a very critical juncture, this news is coming over here. Let us see what kind of an agreement this is and what concerns it can raise. Before we move ahead, an important announcement with respect to the new batches that are starting at Legacy IAS Academy. Each batch will have only 40 aspirants, so that we can pay attention to individual aspirant as well. You will be taught by the experts of UPSC. Now, the new batches are starting. The regular batch starts on 3rd of August. The weekend batch starts on 8th of August. The weekend batch is tailor-made for working professionals and college-going aspirants and is conducted on weekends, so that you can carry on with your work, other things as well. Now, there are other batches as well, but if you are attempting 2027, this is probably the best batch to start with. Now, there are certain advantages which you will get once you enroll with Legacy IAS Academy. Some of them are listed over here. First is the comprehensive coverage of syllabus. Then the next two are the game changers, that is the one-on-one mentorship and doubt solving session, as well as regular interactions with the educators, the teachers that you just now saw. Maximum students, only 40 per batch. Daily mains answer writing practice will be there. The test series for prelims and mains is also there, so that it becomes a one-stop solution for your UPSC journey. Also, the current affairs are covered in a 360-degree manner for prelims and mains integrated approach, and it is covered through the live classes. Now, choosing the right option is one of the most important for your UPSC journey. So we have the 4 most popular options, that is psychology, PSIR, anthropology, and sociology. So if you are giving attempt in 27 or 28, the batch for them is starting on 17th of August. So you can enroll in this batch as well as in foundation course as well by simply scanning the QR code or calling on this number that is given in front of you. Right, now let's continue with the news. So now let's understand what is the significance of this agreement. Now, most agreements basically require compliance with an International Atomic Energy Agency. So what will happen is IAEA will do inspections, right? Then the UAE agreement, the agreement that USA has with UAE in 2009, that became the gold standard. Gold standard means the top of the top standard by voluntarily giving up uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing. What does this mean? See, if you want to create nuclear weapon, you have to keep on enriching uranium beyond 90%, right? So for civilian purposes, for electricity power generation, 6-7%, below 10% is good enough for that generation. But if you are going beyond 20, the only reason that can be is nuclear weapons. So here UAE had voluntarily given up uranium enrichment. That means it made it clear, boss, I am not going to develop nuclear weapons. I only need it for energy. That is why, since it was voluntary done, it became the gold standard. Now, Saudi Arabia here seeks a different framework with greater nuclear autonomy. That is why it has raised concern. Saudi Arabia is not saying that I will also not nuclearize. Saudi Arabia is not saying that I will also stop nuclear enrichment and you should control and inspection should happen. It is saying rather that I should have more autonomy on nuclear programs and things related to it, which will include enrichment of uranium. So that is a cause of concern. Now, what are nuclear ambitions of Saudi Arabia? It plans to build 16 nuclear reactors generating about 17 gigawatts of energy. Right. Now, this nuclear power is intended to reduce the energy requirement from other sources, domestic oil consumption, meet the rising electricity demand, so on and so forth. Here, you will replace the other source of energy with nuclear energy. Now, the question is why Trump's administration changed course. That means previously, though, they were hell bent that all the things needs to be foolproof, very tight. But now, why this exception would be made for Saudi Arabia? Because US views Saudi Arabia as a key strategic partner in West Asia. It looks at Saudi Arabia as a strong friend, as a strategic partner, as its entry point in West Asia, its politics, its military, its this region's control and everything whatsoever, right? So it wants to strengthen its bilateral ties because of the strategic role. Now, this agreement, it includes what? Number one, a joint study on a black box uranium enrichment facility. Joint study means it will be done by USA and Saudi Arabia together, and a bilateral nuclear safeguard framework which will be created. Right. This also reflects a broader geopolitical and economic interest of United States of America in Saudi Arabia. That is why it is letting Saudi Arabia basically produce nuclear energy and some autonomy on its nuclear programs. But of course, USA will be involved. Right. Now, what are the concerns raised by the experts? First, critics are arguing that the deal weakens the long-standing USA's non-proliferation policy. Non-proliferation policy means not letting the nuclear energy proliferate in the rest of the world. So USA will be going against that. That's point number one. Next, the domestic enrichment capability could increase future proliferation risk, because up to a certain extent you would have already enriched, so you get closer and closer to nuclearization of weapon. So that will pose a greater risk because you will give them that capacity. Then other regional states such as Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, they may also seek similar rights. Other countries with whom there are different frameworks, they would also want the same amount of flexibility, thus leading to a domino effect, right? Now, Israel is said to be opposed, or is said to be looking to oppose this Saudi Arabia's domestic enrichment capability. Israel is probably going to oppose this particular thing. That is the idea. UAE may seek similar enrichment because with UAE, USA already has an agreement, so it may also seek similar agreements. So this is the global implication of it. So what can be done going forward? So currently the agreement authorizes joint feasibility study, not uranium enrichment. So before we go on to actually allowing uranium enrichment and giving freedom to Saudi Arabia, what the Trump administration can do is ensure that it follows the non-proliferation policy only and not lets it to proliferate, right? So presently it is going to undergo review by US Congress before taking effect. So what this agreement is not coming into effect immediately. US Congress has to approve it, only then it will come under the under implementation. So before that happens, USA should ensure that nuclear non-proliferation is actually maintained, so that further proliferation and further requirement by other country do not come forward if Saudi Arabia is given this freedom. Thank you.